Are y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the November 18th, 2019 meeting of the Gaston County Board of Education. I am Brent Moore, Crowders Mountain Township, and Chairman of the Board. To my left is Mr. Kevin Collier, Vice Chairman of Riverbend Township. At this time, I would like to ask the rest of our board members to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. I'm Justin Davis, South Point Township.
Hall, Dallas Township.
Dr. Guthrie, Gastonia Township.
Jeff Ramsey at large.
Dr. Cherry at large.
On behalf of the board, I would like to welcome everyone to our meeting this afternoon. Our first order of business is to have our prayer and pledge of allegiance. I would like to ask Dr. Booker if he would lead us in invocation and pledge.
Thank you. Let's pray. Father God, we just thank you. We thank you for the things you protect us against that we don't even know exist. We lift up the schools in California and all that they have faced, Lord, and just ask that you give only the peace that you can bring as they deal with that. We ask your protection on our school district to continue to provide favor for us. We just thank you for all that you do. We ask that you be present in what we do tonight and guide the decisions that are made on behalf of the students of this community. We just bring thanks to you and ask for your blessings.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is to adopt the agenda. You have a proposed agenda before you. If you would, take a look at that agenda. I need a motion to approve. Ms. Cherry, second Mr. Hall. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? And it's unanimous. Our next order of business is to hear good news happening in our schools. Superintendent Booker, give us some good news.
Yes, sir. It'd be my pleasure. I'd like to invite 3 senior students forward. Colin Owensby from South Point High School, Kendall Massey, and Kayla Kranzler from Ashbrook High School. These 3 senior students are being recognized as part of the Carolina Panthers Community Captain Program. This program recognizes outstanding high school students in North and South Carolina who have demonstrated strong leadership skills both on and off the field. The program encourages them to continue to be leaders and role models in their respective communities. To receive this award, the students must have a 3.0 GPA, maintain a community service record, as well as being a varsity athlete. They will be recognized during the halftime of the Carolina Panthers game on December 1st. And we wanted to take a moment to congratulate all 3 of you. And we have 2 of our board members coming down, Mr. Hall and Ms. Guthrie.
My name is on this list. Here you go.
Yours.
We have 3 and you're 3. I get to go first. And it is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be able to recognize a Panther Community Award recipient. I know that you're not just an award winner for the Carolina Panthers Community Award. You're an award winner in the community. You are an award winner in the church. I know that because I hear it. So at this time, it gives me great pleasure, Mr. Massey, to present you with this certificate of recognition. Outstanding Achievement, Carolina Panthers Community Captain, November 18th, 2019. presented by our board chair, Mr. Brent Moore, Superintendent W. Jeffrey Booker. We are so proud of you. I remember when you were knee-high, and here you are standing to receive this wonderful certificate. Let's give him a round of applause.
You can't fall a dot. So I'm going to make this short. This young lady is a part of my family, and I'm very proud of her. Kayla Cranzler, this is presented to you. Very proud of you. Outstanding achievement, Carolina Panthers Community Captain, November 18, 2019, Gaston County Schools. It's signed by our Chairman Brent Moore and our Superintendent Jeff Booker.
I'll see if I can add something since I'm supposed to be up here. Colin, as you heard Dr. Booker, only 10 in North and South Carolina were chosen. And we've got 3 of them. It truly is an honor for y'all to be representing us and your given schools. We can't wait to see you on TV, so make sure you wave, okay, because we'll be watching. So Colin, on behalf of our Chairman Brent Moore and our Superintendent and all of our fellow board members, congratulations. Yeah, big wave. Picture of us, and then if your parents, and then we'll stick you in the middle.
And then the board members, Ms. Guthrie, if you're going to come up this way, you can come up from here. There you go. All right.
Make sure you cut me out, Sean.
Okay. That won't be a problem. And one more. All right. Thank you.
Are y'all principals here and parents?
Parents.
Parents.
And just because they're getting a special award, the Panthers are going to beat New Orleans, right?
He'll figure it out. Where he wants to go, Sean?
You want to be my Ashbrook side? Maybe between those two. All right.
And here comes grandmother.
All right.
Did he get his phone, Sean?
Just more toward this way. There you go. There you go. All right. You mind taking the hat off? I can't see Miss Wilson. No, it's just okay. There you go. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
We just have fun.
Members of the board, we just saw 3 outstanding senior students, but I bet if we had given them an opportunity, they would have named an elementary teacher as someone who started them on their path to great leadership. Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing one of our great teachers, Victoria Freeman. If you could come forward, please. Victoria has been named one of the 27 statewide finalists for Beginning Teacher of the Year by the North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching. Now, you all are excited about it. There's a nervous person out there because there's like 7 principals here, and she's afraid they're going to recruit her away. But Victoria is a 4th grade teacher at Catawba Heights, and on December 5th, she will be in Cullowhee where the winner will be announced. And we just wanted to take a moment and congratulate you before then, and we look forward to seeing the outcome of that great night. Mr. Collier?
Of the year, and the first one from Gaston County is a beginning teacher of the year representative. We're excited for you. We wish you the best of luck. We have a certificate of recognition signed by our board chair, Mr. Moore, and our superintendent, Dr. Booker. And on recognition, it's a great, great accomplishment.
Thank you.
You're going to do great.
Thank you. I hired her. That's right.
You can just fold it down. Hold on. Worked fine a second ago. I don't know what's going on. Let me just take the phone. You work just as good. There you go.
It's me, Sean.
And then one more. All right, thank you.
May I?
Tonight's good news has got something special. The board, you have seen numerous presentations and classroom moments, as well as from our student services team, about multi-tiered systems of support that we use in our schools. It focuses on attendance, behavior, academics, and social and emotional learning. Well, we are fortunate that tonight we will be recognizing 6 of our schools who have received the North Carolina Green Ribbon Award. And this is an accomplishment. You may recall last year Sherwood Elementary won the award, but these 6 tonight represent the 6 of 163 across the state that are being recognized. So I'd like to ask Bessemer City Primary, Belmont Central Elementary, Belmont Middle School, Gardner Park Elementary School, Hawks Nest STEAM Academy, and Tryon Elementary to all come forward, be recognized. This is an effort that reflects the teachers and staff and administration working together in the multi-tiered system of support, which makes a difference in the students and the culture of the school. And it is significant that the state has recognized their performance. And I think Mr. Ustry can talk all about PBIS and which grew into MTSS.
Oh, yes, sir. We're going to start with the perfect place to learn. Sorry. There's only one really perfect place to learn. That would be the school that I headed up. That I've turned over to this lovely young lady here. And I know why they call this green ribbon now. It makes everybody green with envy. That's it. Yes, absolutely. Congratulations to all of you, because the PBIS program, it builds self-esteem. It just makes kids blossom. And there's just no greater place on earth than for children to blossom than in our schools. So all of you, you get my heartfelt congratulations. Thank you so much for what you do every day for the children. Congratulations to Tryon. Congratulations to Bessemer City Primary and to Gardner Park Elementary School.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I'll just add real quickly, this doesn't happen without great principal leadership in our schools. And we as a school system are so blessed to have such great principals. And we thank them for everything that they do. And thanks to each of you for providing the leadership we need in our schools to make our schools outstanding places for our students. And so thank you all very much. And thank you all very much. Well, let's give them a round of applause. Sean, get it fixed. I got it fixed.
Thank you.
Did you get all of my bulge in there?
Members of the board, tomorrow is when the state will actually recognize, and Ms. Huchard, who is acknowledging all these folks as they leave, she will be our representative with the state tomorrow as each of these schools are recognized. And we thank you for all the work that you have done. I have attended numerous presentations to school faculty that she has led, so thank you for your efforts on behalf of that. We do have... We had one other student athlete that we wanted to recognize tonight, Lauren Tolbert from the High School of Technology. She finished second in the 1A cross-country state meet, so second in the state 1A cross. So I thank her leadership, Mr. Montgomery and Mr. Faucheux. So, Ms. Faucheux, thank you for being here tonight. We'll recognize her at another time when she can be with us, but we appreciate you being here to support your students. So. And with that, sir, that finishes off the good news.
Thank you, Dr. Booker. The next item on the agenda is to hear for public expression. And Madam Clerk, we do not have anyone signed up tonight, so we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is approval correction of minutes from our past meeting tonight. We're asking for the approval of the minutes from the October 21st, 2019 meeting. I need a motion to approve those minutes as presented. Mr. Hall? Ms. Cherry, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? And it's unanimous. Our next item on the agenda is American Education Week Proclamation, and this is an action item, and Mr. Todd Higgins.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Vice Chairman Collier, members of the board, and Superintendent Booker. It is a pleasure to present to you a proclamation for your consideration and approval to celebrate American Education Week in Gaston County Schools. At this time, I would like to read the proclamation. Whereas November the 18th through 22nd, 2019 is American Education Week, a time to celebrate public education and honor the professionals who work to ensure that all children receive a quality education. And whereas the theme for American Education Week is Reach, Educate, Inspire. And these three action words are what teachers and other professionals in education strive to achieve on a daily basis for the benefit and betterment of students. And whereas American Education Week shines the spotlight on the importance of public education in the United States and how educators go beyond expectations every day to reach, educate, and inspire the 50 million students in America's schools. And whereas this is the 98th observance of American Education Week, and since it was first celebrated in 1921, we have come to understand and uphold the belief that public education is a pillar of democracy and a cornerstone of American opportunity. And whereas we are very proud of our public schools in Gaston County, which provide excellent opportunities for children in academics, athletics, fine arts, career training, and extracurricular activities, and also serve as an integral part of our thriving community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Education is proud to proclaim November 18th through the 22nd, 2019 as American Education Week in Gaston County schools, and encourages the citizens of Gaston County to show support for public education by thanking our educators for the work they do in our schools to inspire success and a lifetime of learning. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be made a part of the minutes of the board adopted this, the 18th day of November, 2019. Mr. Chairman, this proclamation is before the Board of Education for approval, and once approved, we will place the proclamation on our website, promote on social media, and provide a copy to our schools.
All right. I need a motion to,
Chair, I move that we accept the proclamation as presented, celebrating American Education Week.
thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Second, Mr. Hall. Second, Mr. Hall. Mr. Ramsey, second, Mr. Ramsey. Any discussion? All in favor?
May I say?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I know that you probably want to get home to see the football game, but I just want to say every third Monday, I look forward to attending the board meetings because we are presented with the gifts, the talents, and the excellence that occurs within our school walls by you, the educators, and of course, parents. We greatly appreciate what you do and the way that you motivate our children. It was just a couple of weeks ago that I had someone to call to say that one of the supervisors had recognized her for doing something special, a teacher assistant for doing something special at Pleasant Ridge Elementary School. I think it was Dr. Derek Jackson. You go above and beyond daily to make sure that the lives of our children are fulfilled with the love, the care, and the nurturing they need in order to be successful in the classroom. So we do not want to miss this opportunity as we celebrate American Education Week to thank you for all that you do. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mrs. Guthrie. We have a first, Mrs. Guthrie, second, Mr. Ramsey. All in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Our next item on the agenda is our classroom moment, and we have Mrs. Marty Starnes.
This is excellence, Ms. Guthrie. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Booker. Tonight, before you, you will see teachers at Stanley STEAM Academy showcase excellence, gifts, and talents where they go over, above, and beyond the call of duty. In August of 2018, Stanley Middle School opened its doors to 625 students from the Stanley attendance area, or directly from Hawk's Nest, or incoming sixth graders that were chosen in the lottery process. So tonight, Dr. Rebecca Huffstetler, who was my student in the 10th grade, yes. And these esteemed teachers will showcase the methods in which the strands and concepts of STEAM are integrated into the curriculum.
Thanks. Thank you, Ms. Starnes.
You're welcome.
I am so excited to be here tonight. And our teachers are excited, and they just embrace the opportunity to come share with you what we get to do every single day. When I arrived at Stanley 4 summers ago, one of the things they said is, you know, Dr. Huffstetler, or I was Miss Huffstetler, we're a well-kept secret. What I'm proud to say is we're not a secret anymore. We have students who come to our schools from other Gaston County schools, private school, home school, all over the place, and have arrived to learn at Stanley and the STEAM Academy. And in just a moment, I'm going to turn this program over to the folks who make the magic happen in the classroom every day. I told them, bring it. When you dress for your part in class, I want you to wear it tonight. When you wear your Barbie outfit and you do what you do, when you wear your judge's robe, do it tonight. And we're serious about what we do. But we've been on a 17-month journey learning about STEAM and how do we bring learning alive? How do we make it real in our classroom? And so we've done a project-based learning retreat with our staff. We've done staff development on student engagement. They've sought out PD that fits in with their content. In STEAM, we have bi-weekly STEAM meetings with our STEAM lead teacher, Ms. Markwith, and every day, all the time, it's what can I do next? How can I make learning exciting in the classroom? And that's what they do. You actually have a blue folder on your desk that'll kind of lay out the format for how we're going to go tonight. It's got everybody's name. But if I could change or choose one word to sum up what we've done at Stanley, it's we've changed in 3.5 years. We've had choice, but we've changed because of it. We've had a change in our course offerings. You're going to hear tonight about 2 courses that we offer at Stanley that aren't offered anywhere else in Gaston County schools. We have student clubs, and we had clubs before, but you're going to hear about 3 of our clubs tonight that really take those strands of STEAM and embrace it and make students feel a part. They meet during the school day. Every kid is a part of a club of their choosing that somehow connects to STEAM. And what's so exciting is our instruction has changed at Stanley. How our teachers relate our content and our standards to our students. It is a fun place to be every single day, and I'm going to turn it over to them now to show you what they do every day for our students at Stanley.
I am first, and I'm here to talk about one of the classes that we offer. It is a CTE course from Project Lead the Way. It is called Medical Detectives. It is part of the 8th grade, for the 8th graders, and recently they've been learning about the brain and the sensory organs, and they've been learning about the human brain, and they've actually been dissecting sheep brain. Now, the cool part about this is they compare it to the human brain, but then what they're going to do, they take it a step further, and they actually receive different brains that have different tumors and different diseases, and the students have to diagnose what problems they see within the brain. So that's one of the classes that we offer at Stanley Middle.
This summer at our staff PBL retreat, we worked on project-based learning and how to implement that into our curriculum. So I took that learning, brought it into my classroom, and asked my students, how can we make a positive impact on the lithosphere? So brought the kids down to the creek that is right off of campus, or maybe on campus, I don't know. And we did water samples where they checked the pH of the water, and then an environmentalist came in where we looked at soil profile, and that led to sustainability and teaching them about sustainable farming. And so my students became project managers on how could we make a sustainable garden at Stanley. So that brings me to today. We are collecting 1,400 bottles where they are actually going to use these recycled bottles to make a greenhouse on our property, grow the vegetables that our students actually need, that we know that our community lacks. And so that's what we're doing with our PBL.
I'm Christy Summy, and I'm not catering your dinner tonight, but I am here to represent one of our clubs at Stanley Middle, STEAM Chefs. And during STEAM Chef Club, we currently have 24 students participating in the following activities. We read recipes, create a variety of simple foods that they can prepare at home by themselves. We learn about the prep work that goes into making those recipes, and when those recipes would be appropriate to serve. Students also learn about the tools and things that they need to prepare those dishes, and they calculate the cost of preparing them. At the end of the course, students compile a recipe book. This is one of ours from last year. Our graphic design class actually designed the cover for this. They each get a copy of the cookbook. We have community representatives come in, professionals that come in and speak to our club. And one of the favorite things that they've done recently is we got approval from School Nutrition and did a behind-the-scenes cafeteria tour during the off hours of our cafeteria in between breakfast and lunch. And the students got to go behind the scenes, learn how a meal is prepared for 700 kids each day from start to finish. So they said so far that's been one of the favorite things that they did. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Olivia Wiley, and I'm here to talk about our TED Eds Club. My students get hands-on experience conducting credible research. They get to learn how to speak to a public audience, and they're getting hands-on experience with video editing software. I love this club because every Thursday after our morning announcements, they play the TED Talk for the school community. It's exciting to see what our students do, how they learn. Some of the exciting TED Talks we've had are what happens to your body in space, what makes Fortnite so successful, and animal communication explored, and North Carolina weather explained. It's amazing watching how their minds work, and then also just seeing them take their passions and interests to a new level. I know that it's amazing watching students step out of their comfort zone and really explore and share their learning with the school community.
Hi, I'm Alice Ballard, 8th grade language arts teacher. So Dr. Huffstetler spoke briefly about how we've had to change. I've been at Stanley for 15 years, and so we've had to change. So I was invited, along with some of my colleagues, 2 summers ago to go to a professional development at NC State, and it was a grant written by NC State and the Citadel, and they asked us to come in and learn coding. Now, I'm a language arts teacher, so I went with a bunch of science and math people, and I ended up loving it. And so at this program, we learned about PRADA, which is pattern recognition, abstract thinking, decomposition, algorithms, and we used a program called Snap Coding. It was designed by Berkeley, and then NC State has taken that and created a program that we can use with our kids. And so another one of the teachers here tonight, she and I are doing a club every Wednesday. We have 41 students who work with us in coding. And so some of the things that I've had to learn to do that I've now been able to pass on to my students is designing our own lessons. We have a mystery and suspense unit in 8th grade language arts. So the kids wrote their own mystery story, but then they had to design the story with the code to show it acted out. And this past summer, we went back for year 2. This time it was at the Citadel. And so when we came back, we decided, okay, we've got to get this into the hands of the kids more often than just a lesson here and there, which is where the idea for the club came about. And so each week they come in, we have a different assignment or lesson. We've worked with some of our other teachers, Ms. Hendrix and Ms. Bumgarner. We've worked with them to provide things that they could show within their lessons also. And so learning this new skill, incorporating it into the classroom, it provides them an outlet to use something that is technological, but it also allowed me the opportunity to expand my horizons and to go to a professional development where I'm able to bring all of this back to Stanley Middle School. So thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Haley Armstrong, and speaking of change, I'm one of the things that's changed at Stanley Middle this year. I am the brand new media specialist, and I knew that walking into this position, yes, I knew that walking into this position, I had a great opportunity to bring about some change myself. And I knew right away that I wanted to bring some new qualities into an already well-established library. So first we started with a rebranding. We're now calling our space the Learning Commons because we want this to be a space that's used for more than just checking out books. So the name needed to reflect that mission. The Learning Commons is a busy and productive space now, and on any given day you may find groups recording podcasts for their book clubs, students writing story submissions for our latest contest, green screen videos being filmed, jokes being submitted into our joke box for students to use on our morning announcements, Graphic novels being checked out from our new graphic novel section. Book displays being created that feature award-winning titles, and students adding to our thankful tree to celebrate Thanksgiving. All of these activities take place in addition to the average 60 class visits and 1,200 books circulated each month.
That is phenomenal.
Good evening. I am Karen Pang. I teach 6th grade language arts and social studies. Infused with the pedagogy of the STEAM education are opportunities for students to engage in hands-on learning experiences. As my social studies classes endeavor to learn about different aspects of ancient civilizations, I collaborated with other educators to design a lesson which focused on student learning about the importance of writing systems. They were given a task to create a message in cuneiform, that's ancient Mesopotamian writing. They were given a task to create a message on a mixture of salt, flour, and dough, which was made by Ms. Markwith, our STEAM lead teacher. And they created a message about ancient Mesopotamia. And I want to pass around to you a sampling of what they created. We used a stylus that was printed on our 3D printer to help them make their wedge-shaped forms. And we also used the 3D printer to print cartouches when we studied ancient Egypt as well. They took all of those home, so I don't have any of those. But it gives them an authentic learning experience of what it was like to be a scribe in ancient civilizations. So I love the hands-on component. And the process that they go through to create their products is like a scientific experiment. They first have to brainstorm, and then they have to do the trials of their creations, and then they end up with a final product, which is what you see being passed around the board. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jill Hendrix. I am the Spanish teacher for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade Spanish. My 8th grade students Spanish 1 for high school credit, combined together with the art students in the Art 1 program for a special project on Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. So it's a celebration November 1st and 2nd. The students had to research famous Latinos past. And through the research, they chose a Latino person, an unsung hero, that kind of spoke to them, and they researched their life. And they created an ofrenda, which is similar to an altar, although it has nothing to do with worship. It is meant to honor the person of the past. It has significant elements on it. The students learned about the different elements, the candles, the water, the light, the papel picado, and the different things. And then they made it personal to the person that they studied in their bibliography. They wrote the bibliographies in first person so that for the day of the presentation, the day we had our celebration, we had a living museum. So the students came together in the Learning Commons. We took over the Learning Commons and transformed it with all the decorations that all the other children in the other classes made together. And the children set up their altars or their ofrendas, and the students, the community, the teachers came through and listened to them tell their stories about their past and look at the altars and talk about the things that they made there. So that was a combination with the art and the Spanish 1.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Bumgarner. I'm the art teacher at Stanley. And in addition to working with the Spanish class in 8th grade for the Day of the Dead, our 6th graders study European art. So we kind of take the same idea and did an art auction last year. And this was one of the pieces. I think I paid like $7 for this beauty here. But it was also a community event and something that we had actually a really good turnout for. A lot of parents and I think some board members that are here even showed up. But as we've grown into a STEAM school, one of my goals has been to create real world connections to art and how the students can use art in their future. And so with the auction, we made real-world connections to past and current artists with the goal of the project to help students understand the relationship between making art and studying past artworks. And so we describe artwork and we learn how to use the vocabulary of art and the language of art. And we do that to not only critique past artworks, but to look at their art and their peers' art and learn how to talk about it and critique it and take criticism and be a vulnerable part of the art community, but also experience the joy and the exhilaration of sharing their artwork with their peers and their family members to, well, in this case, to either take their piece or have their piece bought by somebody else. We had a couple pretty good bidding wars going on, so I think a couple of them ended up with some good pieces too, so, yes.
I'm Casey Miller, and in 8th grade language arts, students do a Edgar Allan Poe murder mystery quest. And in social studies, I help teach them about the establishment of the United States and the courts and the court systems. So we decide to combine those, and we actually put somebody on trial in the murder mystery. The students get to play different roles. They get to be the different characters. They get to be the lawyers. They get to be the defendant. They get sworn in by our bailiff of the day, the resource officer. And if there's not enough decorum in the court, Judge Miller takes care of that, and they can be held in contempt. They even they use evidence like a 3D printed bust of Palace. They get to present, trying to make it as real life and as much of a courtroom as possible. The students get to combine their knowledge from both my subject as well as language arts, and they get those real art of persuasion, public speaking skills, and they get to put those into practice.
Hi, my name is Sarah Vansel. I'm the chorus teacher. I do 6th, 7th, and 8th grade chorus. One of the things that I love that we get to do at Stanley is in the spring we do a spring musical. The kids always get to vote, so they have a little bit of a student choice on what musical we're doing. So this year we're doing Wizard of Oz. One of the things I love the most about it is our chorus program has 215 kids in it. So to find a project that literally involves every single student can be kind of difficult. But we have a 6th grade cast, a 7th grade cast, and an 8th grade cast. So every single student has an opportunity to be in the show. And then you have kids who were like me in middle school that I would not be caught dead singing in front of somebody unless I was being forced to, that can choose to be in the backstage crew or to be an assistant director. The backstage crew is 100% in charge of designing and painting and creating all of our sets and props. It's 100% student made. And then the assistant directors have the rest of the responsibility. They take attendance every day. They are literally in charge of stage direction, so stage left, stage right. They make great acting choices, and they are learning how to become leaders. And I think it's so important in this like magical little window of middle school that they get a chance to do this, because it's not something that they get to do in elementary school, and several of them will never get a chance to do that in high school depending on which route they take. So they have this perfect window of opportunity to learn how to control a sound system and turn microphones on and off and direct people on stage or be an artist in whatever path they choose. So I'm really thankful that I get to do that with my students at Stanley.
We made it. Hi, I'm Jackie Tan. I teach 8th grade math and Math 1 at the best school ever. So when we became a STEAM school, I was very excited. My passion has always been towards engineering, and I was just really excited to try to do new things and like it be okay if I failed, because that's part of the learning process. So one thing that I try to focus on is how can I use math in the real world? So I do 2 different Barbie activities, hence the outfit. I don't always dress like this, just on Barbie days, I promise. So one thing we did, and we just completed this one, was we bungee jumped Barbie. And I had to pick the 2 that still have heads attached, because sometimes their math is not good and then they lose their head. So what we did with the bungee jumping is we made our own data. We created a scatter plot from it, and then we used we calculated the line of best fit, which is an 8th grade math standard, and we found out We used our line of best fit to find out how many rubber bands we needed in order to jump her off our balcony. And if you've been to our school, which I'm sure you have, it's a very large balcony. So this year, and it's kind of cool because like I'm able to reflect on my practices and like make things even more interesting. So last year we just bungee jumped them and hoped they didn't hit the floor. This year I made it more challenging and I had like a rating system. Like if you got in the green zone, it was a really lame bungee jump and no one's going to pay money for that. The yellow zone is, okay, this is kind of exciting. And then the red zone is like, danger, I'm fearing for my life, I'm not going to survive this. But that's probably the best bungee jump that you would have, which I would never do, by the way. And then the other thing we do is we zip line Barbie. So we use, this is her little zip line. We use Pythagorean theorem to find out how far we need our line to go from that balcony to the door so that she can get down there. But that would be too easy because like Pythagorean theorem, honestly, it's a big name, but it's pretty easy. I'm like, no, if she hits the wall, then that's not going to work out. So then they had to go back and they had to find a way to make her slow down and stop. And some of them even created like a little platform. So it's really neat because the kids like could do way more than I anticipate. But I really like that we're able to do and present these challenges to our children. Thanks.
Every day, it's a joy to do what we do. And I know I'm talking to you, but you and your colleagues are why I do what I do every day. And it excites me to get to see what our kids do every single day at Stanley Middle School. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Ms. Farbo, or Ms. Carell, our assistant. I was really good up until that moment. Ms. Carell, our assistant principal who keeps things running, supports us in everything that we do. And thank you for trusting us with the opportunity to be the first middle school choice school in Gaston County in a very long time to set the standard that we want for ourselves and our other students. And it's a joy to be able to share it with you tonight. Thank you.
Oh, Dr. Hofstadler, you're not going to get off that easy. There are a couple things that I'd like to say before the board goes. One, I wrote down integrated curriculum to Ms. Guthrie, and I kept having to reach over and underline it. And just for the folks listening, integration focuses on making connections for students, allowing them to engage in relevant, meaningful activities that can be connected to real life across disciplines. Multiple times you referred to how that's going on. Last week I was at an event at one of your feeder schools, and one of your students came up to me who had come from that school, and she said, and they have 3 3D printers, and I haven't been bored a day yet. Now, how many 6th graders have said that to us? So I will conclude my remarks by saying I get asked, who would ride all the way to Stanley? Smart people would ride all the way to Stanley.
Mr. Collier.
Mr. Chair, everyone knows middle school is tough age for children, parents, and teachers. And to see your enthusiasm and what you're doing in the classroom it's excited me, and it has to be contagious within the school. So hats off to you. It's a great job. I love the recipe. I know. Thank you. Yeah, well, still, it's the recipe, and you're right on target with it. Thank you. Great job, and keep it up.
Yeah, we'll save the best for last and let Dot speak. No, as a board, when we talked about creating choice inside our school system and the academies, it's just exciting to hear your excitement that y'all have embraced this. And the collaboration, participation, is just off the chart. And it's we're in competition for students now. I wish we could tell this story to the whole public Gaston County. Nobody can touch us if they knew what we knew. And Todd does a great job, but when you hear this, you're ready to go. Like Dr. Booker said, you're ready to get on a bus for 30 minutes to drive over to Stanley to see what's going on. And the kids love interaction now. That's what they want. And I applaud you and your leadership, Dr. Hofstadler.
Ms. Cherry.
Well, y'all truly are our walking billboards. Yeah, your enthusiasm interject to them, and their enthusiasm bubbles over to their parents, and their parents talk. So it can't get any better than that, and thank you for what you do.
Mrs. Guthrie?
Now, I'm going to make my own. It takes a school to teach a child. And you have been inclusive of, and let me say to the principal first, as you were presenting what you were going to do, I could feel the excitement. I saw it on your face, and I said, wow, we are in for something. We're in for a treat. And we have truly, I have just truly enjoyed. I mean, I wrote down so many things. I'm not going to say all the things I wrote down, but I know that the inclusivity is there, and it makes a difference when you can involve math, social studies, language arts, music, art, and the learning commons. I think it's phenomenal what you're doing. You are making little Johnny want to come to class, and that's what we want to see. What better way to celebrate American Education Week this evening than to hear from you as to what you're doing with our babies. Thank you very, very much. You're right, Mrs. Starnes. Excellent. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Check
But I know the boys love the sterile Barbie.
We think you could care for her and then do her hair up. Really?
Can I come and be in one of the classes?
He's always waiting
Or the other way around.
That's the acronyms.
And they have moved the table out, but I hope you saw the display table that they had here. That is an example of the display tables that will be used this Saturday at our First Choice Fair. And so it shows how each of the schools will be marketing themselves. So a great job, Dr. Huffstadler. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for presenting and all that you do. Our next item on the agenda is a report from the Curriculum and Instruction Committee. The members of that committee are made up as Ms. Dot Guthrie, she is the chair of that committee, Mr. Terry Ushery, Ms. Dot Cherry, and Mr. Justin Davis. And Ms. Cherry is going to bring us that report.
Okay. We met on November the 4th at the TRC. The members present were our chair, Dot Guthrie, as you already said, Terry Ushery, myself, Justin Davis, and Chairman Moore. The meeting was called to order at 12 p.m. The minutes were approved with no corrections for our October 7th meeting. The committee received an update on the Teachers Induction Program for Success, or TIPS, for the Department of Exceptional Children. EC TIPS Day 2 and 3 focused on instruction, communication, compliance, and procedures. Every beginning teacher is assigned a mentor. Staff provided updates on our choice programs. The First Choice Fair, Dr. Booker just mentioned, will be Saturday, November 23rd at Laurie Mills from 10 to 2 o'clock. That's this Saturday. The application window will be extended for the upcoming school year. The decision was made for all choice and magnet lotteries to be on the same date starting this year. In addition to choice programs in the traditional schools, virtual programs provide another option for families. The Gaston Virtual Academy supports students in 3rd through 10th grades. Gaston Online, or GO, is a standalone program of online courses to support all students in grades 6 through 12. The committee discussed the Innovative Partnership Grant, or IPG, for Warlick Academy at the October 7, 2019 meeting. The grant application was submitted last week. The meeting adjourned at 1 o'clock, and our next meeting will be December 2nd at 12 noon at Central Office. And that's our report.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry, for that report. The next item on our agenda is a report from the Operations Committee. The Operations Committee is made up of Mr. Lee Dedman, who is our chair of that committee, Mr. Jeff Ramsey, Mr. Steve Hall, and Mr. Kevin Collier. And Mr. Steve Hall is going to bring us that report.
Okay, our Operations Committee met on Monday, November the 4th, 2019 at 1 p.m. at the new Belmont Middle School construction trailer. And our agenda discussion included the following. Dr. Hushard, our Executive Director of Auxiliary Services, shared with us an update on all the capital projects and the current bond projects and updates that can be found on the Gaston County School website. The Operations Committee wants to recommend that the board approve the following expenditures over $100,000 that will appear later on the consent agenda. One is roof replacement, designs at 6 schools, replacement, controls, and wiring at Hunter Huss. I think we've all seen that on the news. The Cisco SmartNet renewal, Lightspeed Systems renewal. The Operations Committee also voted to proceed with the HVAC controls being replaced, and installs of the job will be completed by the end of 2019. Mr. Hoskins, our Chief Financial Officer, reviewed the current change orders. The orders described were changes that were to be expected. And David Bellamy of LS3P discussed current construction progress of the Belmont Middle School. The Operations Committee toured the construction site. And by the way, I think we're pretty much on track with having it finished. And our next meeting is scheduled for December the 2nd, 2019 at 4 p.m. here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Our next item on the agenda is the first semester high school exam schedule for Gaston Early College and all comprehensive high schools. And this is an action item. And Dr. Bostick.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, members of the board, and Superintendent Booker. As I am sure you all are very aware, we are required to administer final exams to all of our high school students, and the time is quickly approaching as the end of the semester is near. The Gaston Early College High School operates on the college schedule and calendar. Therefore, their exam period needs to come a little bit sooner than our comprehensive high schools. So we are proposing that their exams be administered December 16th through December 19th, which are the last 4 days of their semester, because December 19th is a teacher work day for us. And so this exam schedule is very similar to what you've seen in past years. We are proposing that they do those last 4 days. They typically do not have a lot of students that need makeup days, therefore they don't need the 5th day, as you will see on the next schedule. And we are proposing that the majority of the students be released when they finish their exam period, so that if there are makeup exams or if students need to take additional time on their exams, they can do that into the afternoon period. Any questions about the early college exam schedule? Okay. And then this is a copy of the exam schedule for the comprehensive high schools, the remaining 10 high schools. We are proposing that those exams be given the week of January the 13th through January the 17th. Those are the last 5 days of the fall semester. And again, being half day for the same reasons, so that they can continue to test students into the afternoon as it is needed, as well as have the makeup day on Friday, January the 17th, which will then close out the semester for the year. Any questions about that? Chairman Moore, as you indicated, this is an action item.
Do I have a motion to approve the? Ms. Cherry, a second. Mrs. Guthrie, any questions, discussion? All in favor? And it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bosley.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is the growth report. This is an information item. We have Mrs. Powers.
While Ms. Powers is setting up, just this data, some of this was shared at our parent advisory, and we had numerous folks comment about they liked the way the data was presented, so we wanted to share it with you as the board, as well as allow it to be on TV for folks to see. Ms. Powers and her team worked very hard to go back and give you a history of the data over the last 5 years as we look at both our proficiency and our growth numbers. So thank you for your work, Ms. Powers.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Moore, Vice Chairman Collier, members of the board, and Dr. Booker. I'm excited to share with you our growth report for our EVOS growth, as well as proficiency for the 2014-15 school year to the 2018-19 school year. First off, in our accountability system, there are 2 ways that we measure our student success in their learning. One is student growth. Student growth, we use EVOS Analytics Platform. EVOS stands for Educator Value Added Assessment System. North Carolina uses EVOS to determine growth scores that are used in our North Carolina accountability model. In this platform, we use a percentile progression from one school year to the next. So to look at how our students are growing from one percentile in one grade level to the following year. We also receive reports from EVOS by our overall district growth, school, teacher, and student. So we're able to dig into that data and really make an impact for our students. The second way that we measure success is student proficiency. This is measured by the percent of students who meet a level 3, 4, or 5 on their end of grade or end of course assessment. We use the NCDPI accountability report, and this uses a proficient status progression from one year to the next. We also receive reports from the state by district, school, teacher, and student. First, I want to share with you our student growth. In EVOS, there are 3 growth ratings that we have for our students, for our schools, and our teachers. The first is does not meet expected growth. This growth expectation is for 1 year, and it means that the growth expectation was not met. This actually means that students regressed in their percentile from 1 year to the next. The second is meets expected growth. This growth expectation means that students moved 0 to 4 points from one percentile to the next in their performance. The last is exceeds expected growth. This means that students moved and actually surpassed the expectation of the state by 5 or more points in their percentile from one year to the next. In this graphic here, we look at the past 5 years. 2014 is on your right, and then we progress to the left. These are our end of course subjects of biology, English 2, math 1, and now math 3. And then we look at our end of grade math, end of grade reading, and end of grade science for grades 5 and 8. As you can see, moving from the right to the left, we have a lot to be proud of. We have progress in our growing with our students, and we have more exceeds expected growth in our subject areas than we have in the past 5 years. Now, another way that we compare ourselves is statewide. Out of 115 reporting districts in our state, Gaston County Schools rates 11th in our growth. This is a substantial increase from actually 49th place 5 years ago. In our Big Ten cohort, I would like to carry you through the past 5 years so you can see how we have moved. In 2014-15, among the Big Ten of our cohort, we ranked in 8th place. In 15-16, we saw an increase to 3rd. In 16-17, we held that place. In 2017-18, we had another increase to 1st place among the Big Ten in our state. And then this year, we had a decrease to 4th place. For student proficiency, we looked at it the same way. Our proficiency ratings, as you know, our math assessments were renormed this year. Our English language arts will also be renormed. Through that, we do have some new levels. What used to be a level 1 and level 2 have now been combined into a not proficient status. What this means is that our students are inconsistent in their demonstration of the understanding of our standards. Next is level 3. This means that students do have a sufficient understanding of grade level content standards, and that begins our grade level proficiency. Level 4, our students are thorough in their understanding of grade level content standards, and they're also on track for college and career readiness. And last is level 5. This means our students have a very comprehensive understanding of grade level standards. They're on track for college and career readiness, and they also are prepared for advanced content at their next grade or course level. For our statewide ranking, out of 115 districts that reported, we rank in 54th place, so we're in the top half of the state. This also is an increase from 5 years ago at 65th place. In our Big Ten cohort, this is what we shared at our parent advisory meeting and got great feedback. In 2014-15, we placed in 9th. 2015-16, we stayed in 9th place. In 2016-17, we moved up to 8th place. In 2017-18, we had another jump to 6th place. And I'm excited to share with you, in 18-19, we jumped again to 5th place. So we are now in the top half of our Big Ten district in student proficiency. What this means for us is from 2014-15 to 2018-19, we saw 7.6 points of growth in our student proficiency. That's the percent of students at a level 3, 4, or 5 in understanding their content standards. In doing so, that makes us first in the amount of growth that we have seen over the past 5 years when you put us against the Big Ten cohort. So in summary, for student growth in 2014-15, we ranked in 49th place out of 115 reporting districts. This year, we came in at number 11. In student proficiency in 2014-15, we ranked in 65th. And this year, we moved up to 54. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. One of the questions that we receive frequently is, why do we always compare ourselves to the large districts? Well, there's a lot of consistency in urban districts and how they have to be run. Also, when you put those 10 districts up, you have almost 50% of all the students in the state of North Carolina represented by those 10 districts. So that's why we say that we have common issues, concerns, and then we look to have common performance and compete with them as we benchmark ourselves. And so, as you know, in academic services, they set a very aggressive goal of 72% proficiency. Well, if you watched as it was going across, that's been the top performance in the large districts. So that's where that number came from. It also, when Rebecca was showing you that we're 54th in proficiency, it just puts in perspective that proficiency of 100% is not an intended marker. It's more somewhere in the 70 to 80%. So while none of us are happy with 56, but we have been growing that number statistically and will continue to work on that number. But we're chasing a 70, 80 number, not a 100 number.
Mr. Collier.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say that proficiency is a tough number to chase in public schools, and with some of the resources we have, especially compared to some of the larger school systems around us. With that said, I've just got to say that to our leader, Dr. Booker, it's an outstanding job to be moving the needle the way that it's moving in the last few years, because we are definitely going in the right direction. And though it's not the proficiency you're looking for or that we'd like to have, it is definitely moving in the right direction. So I want to thank you for your leadership and what you're doing with staff development and everything around education to make sure that we're moving that needle. Thank you, Dr. Booker.
Ms. Guthrie.
Well, I just want to also congratulate the superintendent and your staff or cabinet because we are looking at all of the programs that we see every third Monday night. We look at the success of the teachers and students in the classroom. We are looking at ways to provide personalized learning. We're looking at all of those strategies that help to implement the growth that we see. So you're looking at the children, and the teachers are serving as facilitators and working with those students that need that extra push in the classroom. So all of these methods and strategies are working. So that's why we see the growth. And to show the growth gradually, as you've shown, I think it's a phenomenal way to show that our district is certainly moving forward in the right direction.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Power. Mrs. Cherry.
I'm just going to repeat what Ms. Collier said. I'd much rather have a slow, steady increase than be stagnant. So I will take a forward movement anytime, and I have to thank our teachers for the job that they do every day, and all the remedial things that we do, the summer efforts and the extra things after school. We're constantly providing for our children to keep them moving. So kudos to all of our schools and the staff at our schools.
And Ms. Chair, you do exactly, that's what I wanted to comment. You got Pam Miller back there representing NCAE and the work that they do with our students. You had 12 outstanding educators present. You thought about going back to middle school when you listened to what they talked about, what's going on. I know that for many of our folks listening, they never thought about a curriculum and the challenges that we're offering in 8th grade, much less as a senior in high school for those of us in our 50s. So our faculty are challenging our students and providing opportunity for them. And that's where you see these results coming from, is their willingness to work. You heard each of those, or a lot of them, speak to professional development and going out and being challenged, and that I've had to change. I've had to grow. There is no longer a stagnant just sit and get going on in our classrooms, and it's a positive thing. And so it's to those 1,900 folks out there that every day interact with our students. That's where these gains are coming from. So thank you for your presentation, Rebecca.
Ms. Keff.
And just to piggyback off that, one of the teachers from Stanley Middle said, she had to go back. She had to get the additional training so that she would be prepared for her students. And, well, I paraphrase, but, that's the type of growth and the interest that's happening here in our county to promote such growth that we're seeing and hearing. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Our next item on the agenda is school choice program updates, and this is an information item, and Dr. Bumgarner.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Superintendent Booker, members of our Board of Education. I am pleased to have with me this evening our Executive Director of Student Support Services, Ms. Denise McLean, our coordinator of our virtual school, who's done a great job. She's going to share with you, which was presented at our instruction committee meeting, all the great things, because when we think about school choice, we think about programs within schools, but what are we doing consistently across the district for all students? So she'll share some of those updates with you tonight as well.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Vice Chairman Collier, Superintendent Dr. Booker, members of the board, and senior leadership team. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you this evening to provide an exciting update on our choice programs. Tonight's presentation will focus on virtual learning in Gaston County Schools, share information on our upcoming choice fairs, provide an update on the school choice criteria, and conclude by presenting how we are growing options for students. So to start our presentation, Kathleen DeAvery will speak to you about virtual learning in Gaston County Schools.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
I'm excited to share with you tonight some updates when it comes to virtual learning in Gaston County Schools. The focus of my presentation will be on an update as far as where Gaston Virtual Academy is today, an explanation on Gaston Online and how we are expanding and revising this program. This has actually been around longer than Gaston Virtual Academy in Gaston County Schools. And then also just sort of touch on and highlight how virtual is becoming more and more utilized when it comes to student interventions. So once again, a reminder with Gaston Virtual Academy, this is, we like to say, the 55th school in Gaston County School System. We are fully accredited. We are recognized by the state with a school ID and with a school report card. This year, we are able to support students in grades 3rd all the way through the 10th grade. The big difference, of course, for our students is that they are signing up to take all of their classes completely online. Most of our students are doing their schoolwork from home, never really having to step foot in a Gaston County public school. The exception to that would be that if a middle school student chooses to take band, chorus, or a career and technical education course, they are able to do that at their assigned district school. How students are selected for Gaston Virtual Academy is through an application process. They all apply, and then every student comes in for a screening. Essentially what we're looking for as an ideal candidate at the Virtual Academy are students who need a flexible schedule. An example of that might be a student gymnast who is spending several hours a day at the gym practicing, and so they cannot make a traditional school schedule work. We're also looking for a unique set of skills that help to make a student successful in an online environment. When it comes to Gaston Online, like I said, is a program that's been around. It started in the high school. And started with just 2 courses. These are courses that are created by Gaston County school teachers. They are taught by Gaston County Schools teachers. And essentially what we have today is we have 2 branches, if you will, of Gaston Online. We have our Gaston Online elective course offerings, and these electives are provided to our high school students. As you can see, we've got 13 courses here today under the Gaston Online or the Go elective umbrella. The idea here is that when students at the high school register for their upcoming school year courses, they have the option to take these courses if they're on their registration card. The idea is that if a student at one high school is really interested in AP European history, but the school can't provide it because they maybe don't have a teacher who meets that certification, a student still has the opportunity to take that course through the Gaston Online provision. So again, these are 13 different electives that we provide to high school students, and they can sign up and register to take these courses just like any other course that they might have face-to-face at their school. The other branch of Gaston Online that is new this year are the Go Core courses. These operate a little bit differently because, as you can see, these are courses that are offered at every school in Gaston County Schools. But the idea here was that we knew that in some cases, maybe a teacher, especially in math, might be kind of hard to find. We had one school that started the year without a Math 1 teacher, and so we were able to provide to the students that Math 1 course online with a teacher at their school who was supervising them in the meantime while that school was trying to find a math teacher. So again, these operate a little bit differently. The whole purpose is to kind of help schools when they are in a desperate situation. Another example is that at the middle school level, world history is one of those new high school courses that we're offering to students there. And so this is a supplement that we provide to all of our world history middle school teachers so that they can utilize this course as needed in the classroom. So again, we've got the 2 different branches. We have the Go electives and the Go Core courses. And then lastly, what we have, or what we've been seeing an increase in, is the need for a non-traditional schedule for some of the students on a case-by-case basis. So we've been working with the Department of Exceptional Children. I've met with Carrie Minnick, and we've devised a plan on how we're going to be able to help support students who just a traditional school schedule is something that they need a little bit of tweaking or a little outside, or a little difference, excuse me, to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeAvery. And now it's time to talk about our school choice fairs. It's choice season and an opportunity to showcase the great things that are happening in our school system and the opportunities that we're providing our students to apply for. So as you're aware, our first choice event is already scheduled, and that is for Saturday, November 23rd at Luray Mills. Now this is a new venue for us, and we're real excited about having this opportunity to showcase a different venue, but have parents and students to come and see the displays that our schools will present. Our second one is our weekday opportunity, and that will be held on Monday, January 27th. And again, we wanted to make sure we provided a weekday opportunity for students or parents who could not attend on Saturday. And finally, we will conclude with our choice fair at Gaston College again on Saturday, February 27th. In terms of our choice updates, our window this year has been extended, and again, we're looking for an opportunity to give parents just a little bit more of an opportunity to apply, to make themselves aware of our different programs, and then again, it's extended from January 6th until February 28th. Parents do apply online, and that's using the Scribbles platform, and students in grades kindergarten, 6th, and 9th have that opportunity to apply for our school choice programs. The lottery date will be held on March the 17th at Highland School of Technology. And again, we changed the venue because we wanted to make sure there was large enough so all of the programs could be highlighted on the same day. So at Highland, beginning at 4 o'clock, we'll do the magnet programs first, and then conclude by follow up with the elementary, middle, and high school choice programs. The lottery process, on the evening of March 17th, after the lottery has taken place, parents will be notified via email in terms of the seat that is offered to their child. So with all of our choice programs, with all of our magnet programs, they will be notified that night if they were selected for a seat. And we have to give parents and students an opportunity to make a decision, so by March 31st, that's when they have to accept that initial seat that they've been offered. From that period, from April 1st until July 27th, students will be notified if they are moved up on a wait list and they are offered another seat. And again, if they are on a wait list, they can opt to accept that new wait listed seat or remain where they are. Okay? And again, all of our choice programs will follow this particular lottery process and timeline, including Highland and the early college. So in terms of updated criteria, you were provided a handout that highlights the actual strikeouts. So you will see what's the same and what's the difference between the two programs. So starting with Highland School of Technology, they will continue to offer seats based on initial acceptance, and you see the criteria that's listed there for initial criteria, and that's 7th grade ELG scores in reading and math, and they have to be a level 3, 4, and 5. 7th grade C average, 94% attendance rate, and be in good standing in terms of conduct. Now, once they receive ELG scores at the end of the year, they'll go back and make their final acceptance the way they traditionally do. Looking at this year, just math data, because the reading scores are being renormed, so we will not have access to reading scores. So only 8th grade math scores, and again, students needing to make a level 3, 4, 5. And again, good attendance as well as being in good standing. Now, for the Gaston Early College, they did change their criteria this year. And again, you see the strikeouts that are on their form. But overall, they're looking at 6th and 7th grade ELG reading and math data for students having to score level 3, 4, 5. A 7th grade C average, but something different this year, they're going to look at 8th grade fall data, looking at their proficiency scores, looking at diagnostic information and their benchmark scores. Again, they're looking to make sure that students have an C average for their 8th grade fall semester scores, and then again, have a 94% attendance rate, be in good standing with conduct, as well as 7th and 8th grade, and then their 300-word essay that they traditionally do. And the last part of the criteria that's been updated, and this is on both of the handouts that you received, the seats did change this year for some of our schools. For Highland, the number of seats open to our, based on feeder, Stuart Kramer did have a change. They went from 17 to 18, and also Forest View had a change. They went from 19 to 18. The Early College had several changes. The Ashbrook seats went from 7 to 8. Cherryville from 4 to 3. Stuart Kramer 6 to 7. And East Gaston 7 to 5. Now, this formula is based on our second month PMR. We look at the total number of high school students in our district, as well as the total number of seats at each school. And there's a complicated formula that we use, but basically that's the criteria for looking at that distribution. The last time the scores changed or the seats changed was in 2017-18. From there, we're making a change this year. So in terms of continuing to market and brand our choice programs, we've updated all of the frequently asked questions documents. Our principals will be able to distribute those to parents on this Saturday. We've provided new choice signs and table runners for them. That I think you saw an example this evening of what all of our school choice programs will have, again, making them all the same. You'll start to see local announcements and local events that they're announcing our choice program, highlighting the great things that are happening at their schools. You'll see yard signs, magnets, banners, and maybe billboards around Gaston County advertising our school choice programs. We hope that our principals will take an active role in sharing stories and encouraging parents to apply to their particular program, but certainly being available to answer questions that parents may have. And then you just may even see some highlights in some of the local parades as we are trying to sell the various programs that we have for our students. Next steps, again, just looking at the district to help launch the campaign to advertise and promote our choice programs, and then the individual schools also having ownership and selling our programs. So the next piece of exciting information that I am just honored to be able to share with you this evening, and that is to introduce our new choice program. So if we had a drum roll, we can provide that now. But I would like to introduce to you iAccelerate Academy at Ashbrook High School. Yes. So iAccelerate will open fall of 2020, this next fall. 100 seats will be available for blended and traditional learning, and I'll explain those terms to you in just a second. And it will be open to freshmen and sophomores to apply to attend iAccelerate Academy. 3 pathways that students will enter or be able to attend Ashbrook High School. First of all is our comprehensive high school, and again, I'll go into details. iAccelerate, and then an iAccelerate blended model. So let's talk about those. The comprehensive high school portion will be basically all those things that traditionally take place in Ashbrook that's good for students and where they've seen so much success with their advanced placement courses, their college and career promise, that's the CCP, their junior ROTC program, all of the certifications that they've received with their career and technical education programs, as well as their nationally award-winning arts programs. So all of those good things will continue to happen as one component of the students at Ashbrook. The second component or pathway would be known as iAccelerate, and this is an opportunity for students to be dually enrolled in some of the programs, the CCP programs. And dual enrollment, of course, means that they will be enrolled in high school, but also in the community college. They'll have an opportunity to take transfer credits and credits that are aligned to the 16 community or state and universities in North Carolina. Students will take an accelerated preparation program to get a possible degree, an associate's degree, as well as getting their high school diploma. And then the third opportunity is a blended iAccelerate program with students with special interests. A lot of the situations that Ms. DeAvery talked about, students with special interests, they may report to campus on a non-traditional schedule and on non-traditional days, as well as being able to participate in the college and career promise courses. And then for those students that may have a personal interest in, they are, let's say, equestrian, yes, as an equestrian trainer, an opportunity for that student to get their education, but also continue their training in their programs. So one of the things that I would leave you with is a quote from one of our former graduates, and it reads, "Due to the number of CCP courses I took in high school, I entered UNCC as a freshman, advanced in December to sophomore status, and advanced to a junior at the end of my first year of college." And, just to hear a student say that, to be able to say that, and to know that they're saving their family's money, they are getting a jump on their other classmates, but to go in as a freshman and then to have that opportunity to, in just a year's time, receive the status of being a junior in college is really exciting. And that's what we are attempting to do here, is to provide other students with that very same opportunity. So again, we are excited to introduce iAccelerate Academy at Ashbrook High School, and we look forward to you attending our choice fairs and helping us to promote the good things happening in Gaston County schools. Thank you.
Any questions? Comments?
I just need one clarification.
Yes, sir.
On the 100 students, is that 50 of Ashbrook students or 50 outside also? Is that how that works?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Mr. Hall?
I've heard nothing but praise in the county over this choice program, and I'm very proud that we started it, and I commend you for your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very good.
I want to compliment all the teachers and principals out there, because without their work, this wouldn't happen. This is pretty a daunting task to be laid in their laps, and that's where the rubber meets the road, is in the classroom with the teachers. And for the principals to get behind it and to get their teachers on board is, we can have all kinds of wonderful, great ideas, but they're the ones that make it happen, and those folks really need to be lifted up, our teachers especially, and our principals that have stood behind it.
Yes, sir.
As well as our school counselors, because I think the role that they play will be critical to the success of especially the program that you're getting ready to implement in 2020. As well, you're going to be motivating some of the reluctant students who probably wouldn't see the need to continue to graduation, but I just think this is just a wonderful option to offer our students. And we talked about raising the scores earlier. This is how we show growth. I mean, by implementing such programs, choice programs, that's the answer to the question of, to what we had earlier. We are doing this because we're offering alternatives to our students. And equestrian, talking about that, get them where they are interested.
Yes.
And you'll get them excited and they'll want to move forward. So
Yes, ma'am.
I just think it's a win-win. That's one of the other.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. McLean.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
DeAvery.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your hard work. Our next item on the agenda is a information item. It's Restart Schools, and we also have Ms. Dr. Balknight back.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Superintendent Booker, Vice Chairman Collier. Again, board members, it is my pleasure to continue to talk to you about how we have changed things to meet the needs of children, as many of you have described and Ms. Guthrie just mentioned. A part of that opportunity for us was several years ago when the state allowed schools to become restarts. And here I have basically highlighted the general statute that explains why they're allowing us to have charter-like flexibility. So we were able to do this several years ago with a few of our schools. So what are some of the benefits? Some of those benefits include calendar flexibility. Well, that's something that we've talked about at the state for years. We have not taken that part up at this point, but we are able to do things, for example, at Hunter House High School, which is one of our restart schools, to have flexibility with licensure. So they're able to hire a career and technical education teacher that may not be the typical candidate that would go through our regular licensing program. So that's been very helpful. They have a little more flexibility with their financial resources, so our 6 restart schools work very closely with Mr. Hoskins to do things that they need to meet the needs of their schools. Typically, our restart schools, I'll show you the model in just a moment, are schools that have more challenges than other schools, and so they need all the opportunities to be flexible and creative. They do have flexibility on class size. We have not used that option at this point. We have maintained our class size in K-3. We continue to allow them to use additional instructional materials, and they also have flexibility with the teacher evaluation. So here, this started in 2013, so at least 2 of 3 years for a school to be categorized or identified as a school that could become a restart school, they had to be low performing for 2 of the 3 years, and this started in 2013. So at the time, we had 7 schools, and we decided to use the restart model with 6 of our schools. Here are the schools that we continue to use the restart model with. Each year it looks different. Each year we continue to try more things, but it's exactly what Mr. Collier said. It is because the teachers are willing to try new and different things under the leadership of strong principals. So we're very appreciative that the board allows us to continue to utilize the restart model. Mr. Moore and Dr. Booker have the notebooks that we have to submit reports to the state, which is why we're sharing this information each year, just to tell them that we're making progress in these schools. And several of these schools have made significant growth. I believe Southwest Middle School is in the top 20% of the middle schools in the state of North Carolina. So we believe that Restart is working. Some of the things that you would see, for example, at Southwest, every grade level has a counselor, and those counselors move with the students to the next grade level. And when you think about, with Ms. Guthrie talking about counselors a minute ago, building those relationships with students and really knowing students, because if you're with them in the 6th grade and you move with them until they leave, and their assistant principal goes with them. So really building a wraparound relationship with those families and those students has made it a successful school for Southwest and a strong principal. Let's not forget that. Ms. Hester does a great job at Southwest Middle School and has a great staff working with her. Thank you.
Questions? No one? Thank you, Dr. Balknight. Next item on the agenda is the 2019-2020 budget update. This is an information item, and Mr. Hoskins.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Vice Chairman Collier, members of the board, Superintendent Booker. I'm here to discuss the 2019-2020 budget update. When we look back at where we are in our budget, we started this January 10th, talking about our budget for 2019-2020 at your board retreat. We sent out some surveys to our stakeholders. We met, the finance department met with individual department heads. We had public meetings here in the boardroom. And on April 15th, the board approved the Gaston County Schools budget request. That budget request was submitted to the county, and the county actually approved their local budget back on June 11th. And on June 13th, this board approved an interim budget, which is required by law for the 2019-2020 budget, which is based on 80% of the expenditures in the previous year's budget. And then finally, on June 27th, the General Assembly did approve a state budget House Bill 966. And House Bill 966, also known as the 2019 Appropriations Act, was quickly vetoed by the governor the following day. The major differences that they have had and continue to have are the expansion of Medicaid, which the governor supports the expansion of Medicaid. The General Assembly does not support the expansion of Medicaid, and also cutting corporate taxes and franchise taxes. Again, the General Assembly favors cutting those taxes. The governor does not. So on September 11th, the House actually overrode the veto. You have to have a 3/5 vote of the members present. The Republicans were able to get that veto overridden on September 11th. The Senate currently does not have enough votes to override that veto, and so far, I guess as of today, they have not yet overridden the veto. So what the state is doing is right now we are using the recurring budget from 2018-2019 as our current year budget, and also the General Assembly and the governor have been using mini budgets to find areas of common ground where that they can go ahead and approve small incremental budgets that will be used in 2019-2020. One of those mini budgets was House Bill 377, which is called the Teacher Step Act. It approved annual steps for teachers and certified personnel based on the 2018-19 teacher salary schedule. So they did not change the teacher salary schedule yet, but they did allow those teachers to take a step. So if a teacher was on step 15 last year, they will now be on step 16 with the same salary schedule for this year. That'll go into effect. We'll probably get that in the December paycheck and get that retroactive back to July 1st. Also, they approved a principal pay increase of about 6.2% and adjusted the tiers for the principal pay, which is based on student enrollment and student growth. And finally, they modified the principal bonus program. So this is the principal schedule for 2018-19. It includes 5 steps. For the 2019-2020 salary schedule, they added one additional step. The top step you can see plus 1601, we have no schools that are in that step. So the first column is ADM, and that is your student count for the schools. The next 3 columns are what Ms. Powers was talking about, student growth. You have the base, you have met growth, and then you have exceeded growth. And these will be based on last year's numbers, which, again, Ms. Powers was talking about. Also, they changed the principal bonuses. You can see the last year's bonus versus this year's bonus. The bottom 3 tiers remain the same. However, the top 2 tiers, the top 5% and the top 10%, are actually more lucrative for our principals than they were last year. However, they did take away the doubling of the bonus for any school that was a D or an F, received a grade D or F. So that will not be in effect this year. These bonuses are required by law to be paid by November 30th. DPI just provided us with that list last week, and we're working to make sure and validate all the names on that list. Another one of the mini budgets that was just recently passed by the General Assembly was Senate Bill 354, the Strengthening Educator Pay Act. And essentially this was a mini budget targeted towards education. It pulled from the previous budget, House Budget 966, which was the actual state budget. It pulled the teacher raises from that, the central office raises of 1%. However, it said that this would be contingent on the passage of House Bill 966, which the governor has already vetoed because of the Medicare and the corporate tax differences. So based on that, the governor did veto this particular mini bill, which was not unexpected. So, right now we know what our local funds are. We know what our federal funds are. Both of those are being appropriated in the same manner as they have been every year prior to this year. We do know that the current state budget is based on last year's recurring budget, and DPI, due to the amount of time that has passed since this fiscal year started, DPI has already been making preliminary state allotments to the districts. They started that a month or so ago. We do believe that not having a approved budget, a budget resolution, decreases the financial transparency to the public, and we believe that we need to approve a budget resolution, and that when a state budget is finally passed, any changes in that state budget compared to our budget resolution can be made through the normal monthly budget amendments and transfers report, which we give you guys every month after a budget's been approved. So we are recommending that we move forward and go ahead and approve a budget resolution for 2019-2020. That's all I have on the update, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. No, the next one's action. This is information.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I have a question. So in the mini budgets where there's been a change in pay, they're all retroactive to
Well, that will depend on the mini budget. Typically, historically, that has been the case, but we would have to read the language in the mini budget. The one that was approved, the steps for the teachers, that is retroactive to July 1st.
Okay, and this will all be funded by the state accordingly?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no end in sight of when we'll have a budget?
No, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Hoskins. The next item on the agenda is adoption of the 2019-2020 Gaston County Schools budget resolution. This is an action item. And
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Hoskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I placed in at the desk of each board member a copy of the proposed annual budget. In this budget, it will include an introductory statement which will have our vision, our mission, and our goals and priorities. It'll also have the budget calendar that we just went through. It'll have budget definitions because these are based on some DPI codes and terminology, so we try to simplify that as much as possible. Then you'll have the actual budget resolution, followed by graphs, which we'll go over in a second, and then a comparison from last year to this year. So as required by law, the budget resolution includes a number of different sections, and the first 6 lines here are all individual funds. So you have your state funds, your local funds, your federal funds, et cetera. And each section has 2 parts. The first part is the expenses for that fund. The second part is the revenue from that fund. And those 2 numbers will always match because by law, we have to have a balanced budget. And so at the end of the day, total revenues will total expenses. And at the end, we have other directions, essentially allowing us to roll over previous unused money from last year and directing us to use restricted funds first before unrestricted funds. So when we look at the budget summary, the revenues, the second column is the budget from last year, the initial budget from last year, 2018-19. And then the next budget, or the next column, is the current proposed budget. You can see there's a $47 million difference, but the primary reason for that is that last year's budget was approved on July 8th. This year's budget is as of November 18th. And so during that period of time, a lot of federal money has dropped because usually federal money comes at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. So that's why you see a $19 million increase in federal money. Also, capital, fluctuates quite a bit from year to year. And the lines at the top, county appropriation, the county provided us almost $2 million of additional funding this year compared to last year as well. So when you look at a pie chart of where we get our funding, you can see state funds are 60%, and that's really the one that we had the least amount of clarity on because we still don't have a state budget, so we're going by where we were last year. The next being our local money and then federal money. When you look at our revenues, the revenues are going to total, the expenditures, they'll total what the revenues were. Again, a $47 million increase. The biggest increase was in our instructional services, and those are costs related to interactions between teachers and students. I mean, that's what we're here for. And you can see that's where the significant amount of that increase went. The other part is capital, and again, that fluctuates from year to year. So when you look at our budget summary, instructional services, 64%. The other items are really support services, transportation, school nutrition, accounting, accountability, leadership, et cetera. So that totals $309 million. So in this budget, these new initiatives are really the initiatives that we laid out when we talked about our local budget, because we got an extra $2 million in our local budget, plus some capital money, another $1 million in capital. State money, we don't know what initiatives they're going to be funding. So as we've talked in the past, this is going to increase our teacher supplements, another $500,000. That means about $185 per teacher. Expanded our school choice opportunities, which we're already doing. We're continuing not to fund anything or budget any funds from our fund balance. This budget does account for the state mandated increases in benefit costs. Those amounts have already come to us. We are aware of what those are. Replacing our end-of-life technology, a state mandated update of our core network devices. We'll really start that process in January. That should be funded, at least for the first year and a half, by the state. And then the school bond funds that we've received from the county. So that is what this budget resolution would include, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, Mr. Chairman.
Have any questions?
Just one point of clarification, Mr. Chair. This is the budget that you worked on and received in the spring, and your interim budget was adopted off of this. What you're just doing is allowing us to move through to a permanent budget, because as Mr. Hoskins emphasized, right now, the things that are moving around in the budget just flow without any need to report to you as things change. If we adopt the budget and you say it's supposed to be in this line and this line, if anything moves, then we report. And this is part of our fiduciary responsibility. We want to make sure you know everything that is going on. But as he pointed out, 60% of this is the state, and so we're there. But what the state has done, because of the way the law is written, for the large items, they can take last year's number, and that's what we can operate off of. They've also given us our allotments now. So when you did your interim, they had not done any of that allocating. So they have now. This is one to just get us so that we can give you a more accurate month-to-month picture. But recognizing there will be somewhere in the future where you will have a very thick number of budget amendments, because once they do adopt the formal budget, we will know what that is. What we have appreciated, particularly from our local legislature, is support towards getting like the safety grants. They allowed that to proceed where we could apply for those and get those funds. So they're not doing a delay on those, but a lot of the ancillary things. And just as you saw, they had to do a special budget to do some of the principal adjustments. But they have still not passed the big one related to our teachers and to central office.
And there will be a lot of budget amendments next month, because this budget is based on the initial DPI allotments. Since then, they've had 12 amendments, and each one of those amendments will be included in the budget amendments for next month.
Mr. Collier.
All right, I got a question, and it's sometimes my way of trying to simplify things in my mind. So we adopt this as our operating budget.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing changes, we're going to be short of money before the end of the year.
I'm not sure I understand.
And unless
if we use the
state
interim budget at 80%, we would.
Okay, right.
This is essentially at 100% of last year's budget, last year's state budget.
Okay, so, and fiduciarily, we can operate 100% of last year's budget.
The law says that you can proceed with that. What you don't have is teacher pay increases.
Right.
We can do our supplement increase because that's a local.
Right.
But anything that's tied back to the
Okay,
state.
and that's my question, is state funding. So we're not going to try to pay any unfunded state?
No.
Okay, right.
That's correct.
All right, I just want to be clear on that, and anybody else out there that's a little confused like me. So, but what we can expect is we are going to adopt our budget, but what we can expect is a lot of amendments coming that they will hopefully fund these teacher increases and instructional increases. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Was I the only one confused on that?
Right.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adopt the budget
All right, in a
as
second.
proposed.
Mr. Hall, any more questions, discussion? All in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Hoskins. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. There are several items on the consent agenda tonight. Please take a look at those items listed, and I need a motion to approve those items on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Mr. Ramsey? Second. Mr. Hall? All in favor? And it's unanimous. That brings us to the time in our meeting to hear from our superintendent. Dr.
Thank you.
Booker, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir, I do have a few. Thank you all for, a lot of work went on in your committees related to these contracts that you just approved on consent. We appreciate your working with us as we try to resolve some of the issues that we've encountered. There are several things I want to make sure you are aware of. Mr. Clinton and his team really never stop recruiting teachers. And we've had visits to colleges and to job fairs, and I'm really excited to report that they have already offered and signed 11 early graduates to work in Gaston County. And so really appreciate their work. As you all know, there's a teacher shortage, and for us to be out there working hard to do this, we're excited about this. So when they graduate, they will be ready, and they've made a commitment to us. So thank you to Mr. Clinton and his team for continuing to work on that. We have several neat events that are going on this week in the district. Tomorrow, the Dairy Alliance, in partnership with Fuel Up to Play 60 program. You've seen the commercials during NFL games, and this is the Carolina Panthers will be at one of our schools giving us a $10,000 gift towards our Second Chance Breakfast program. So this will be a neat opportunity that the Panthers are providing for us. Also, Tuesday evening at 6 p.m., we will have our Technical Honor Society induction ceremony, and this is a really great recognition of our career and technical education program and what goes on. That will be at 6 p.m. at Stuart W. Kramer High School. So I encourage all of you who can attend to please come out and see our students get recognized. Then on Wednesday, Forest View High School is hosting the Advanced Placement Gallery Showcase at 6 p.m. This is part of the Career in College, the Collegiate Prep Academy, as it gets titled by the AP folks. So this will talk about all the work that's going on towards the Advanced Placement Capstone Project that you've heard talked about as part of their choice program. I'll say it one more time. Our choice fair is Saturday at Luray Mill, and we look forward to folks coming out and exploring and being able to hear about the choices and learn, because it's great. Last year we had several really great conversations at the fair that I was a part of where folks were exploring when they didn't even have a student yet in the system. You don't have to have a sixth grader to be there. You don't have to have a student even enrolled yet. It's a good way to come and learn about Gaston County Schools and what's going on. I don't know about you all, but I looked this weekend and realized, gosh, Thanksgiving is only a few days away. I wanted to remind you that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week are holidays for Gaston County Schools. And we'll come back, and then 3 weeks later, we'll have the winter break that will come with it. So there's a lot of holiday festivities that will go on over the next 4 weeks. We started last week with the great lunch that gets served. That's a big tradition in our community, and just seeing the excitement around that always lets you know that the holidays are close by. And so there will be concerts and different programs that will go on and encourage folks to look at our holiday programs and take advantage of seeing what our children do every day, and they exhibit it great. Also, that means Christmas parades are coming. And they've assured me that old bus number 1, the orange bus from back in the 50s, is ready to be used at 8 of our Christmas parades. So if any of your board members would like to ride on the bus as part of the parades, please let your clerk, Ms. Watto, know on that opportunity. Also, we were successful this past weekend with 2 of our teams, Hunter Huss and South Point, winning in the state playoffs, so they will continue. Bessemer City had a bye, so they will enter into the playoffs for the first time, so we'd like to wish good luck to all 3 of them and encourage everyone to come out for those home games that we have. On a personal note, I got a super invitation last week to a 3rd grade music program at Carr Elementary. Standing room only in the multipurpose facility. All students participating in the 3rd grade. And recognize Carr is one of our larger elementary schools, so it was over 100 children on the stage participating in that. And Heather McCoy, who many of you remember from our talent competition, wrote songs related to the 7 Habits of Stephen Covey, and also used some current music. And this presentation was just phenomenal. And to see the growth in these students in the short time that we have been in school, it was just really great. That's just an example of the many wonderful programs that go on and take place. And I just thank the teachers for, they don't have to do all that. She didn't have to write songs. She could just say, oh, here's the canned stuff that Covey sends us. But she took the time, and you could see the pride and the participation. And the culmination when the kids came out in career uniforms and talked about that, and the 7 blocks had been built. There's some really exciting things going on. So all that leads to great things. I do have one item of regret for you. We have had a retirement that will be a great miss in this district. Glenn Bratton, who was one of the original resource officers in this community, when he retired from the county police, came and worked with us in our safety program and has done outstanding work. You've seen his work in closed sessions where he comes about. He's instituted table talk programs and things just really to move us to the next level, and has been a great calming force in times of struggle. Well, he is retired again. And so he will be leaving us, but we wanted to make sure that everyone knew we appreciated the work he has done in this district. And what's great, when I met with him last week as he was leaving, he said, I'm not going anywhere. I've started a mentoring program, and he's working already at Greer Middle School. So there's a reason why he is a valuable person in our community, and we just appreciate what he did and wish him the best in his retirement, but glad that he's going to be sharing that with us. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks. We do need a closed session tonight for several legal matters.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A6 for personnel, and North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A3 for consultation with attorney in order to consult with the board's attorney and protect the attorney-client privilege, and to receive advice with respect to the lawsuit captioned 19-CVS-319 Solomon et al. Versus Gaston County Board of Education et al. And any other legal matters.
Got a motion? I need a second. Ms. Cherry, any questions? All in favor? And we're in closed session.
Since Lee's not here. Oh, is that you since you sat close to him? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, we're not on TV.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Back in open session. Thank you for your time and attention tonight. We look forward to our next regular board meeting, which will be December the 16th. And we hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
And with that, Mr. Moore, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Davis, Ms. Cherry, all in favor? And it's unanimous. We're adjourned.